Boo I'm sad. So I watched, hang on. There. Just switching my book around. I watched Arrow Season 5, Episode 6, titled So It Begins. And I was uploading my videos for Supergirl Season 2, Episode 5, and The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode, I believe, 3? Was it 3? Yeah, Episode 3. I uploaded that, I recorded them, they were still on my device, and, I was uploading them at the same time, watching Arrow Season 5, Episode 6, and as I was uploading those previous two, videos, I accidentally deleted one of my videos, and it was, The Flash Season 3, Episode 5, titled Monster. I accidentally deleted it, so I'm going to have to redo it, but this video is not for that right now. This one is for Arrow Season 5, Episode 6, titled So It Begins, which, premiered last night. So let's begin. We see Oliver and Diggle apparently trying to track down Prometheus, and they go to this abandoned warehouse looking thing where there's fire and a cell phone. Really weird, right? But then all of a sudden the ground is lit on fire, and you literally see the title screen right there. It literally says So It Begins. And I was like, wow. Already, roll credits, you know what I mean? But anyway, so basically we get Oliver, Diggle, and Felicity pretty much tracking down Prometheus without telling the other members of their team, right? Because apparently Prometheus is starting to kill seemingly random civilians with throwing stars. And, all of a sudden, I don't know how, but it gets on the news. They report the killings, and it causes tension in the city, and the recruits, they're angry because, of course, they were not informed, and obviously Diggle, Felicity, and Oliver knew about this, right? So they're like, we feel kind of, rejected here. You're just telling the A team and not the B team, which is us, something like that. And, I don't really blame them, because, they thought they were a team. All of them are equals. Just because, Wild Dog, Ms. Terrific, Artemis, and Ragman are technically new to the team, they believe that at one point, they were all equals, when it comes to information sharing anyways. So I don't blame them for being kind of pissed off at that moment. I was like, why didn't you tell us this? Why didn't you let us go with you? Right? I'm like, I would have probably done the same thing. It's like, look, I get we're newbies compared to Green Arrow, Spartan, and of course Overwatch, but come on, man. You could have at least told us. If you don't want us to get in danger, fine, but you could have at least told us what was happening. At least, right? At least, that's what I think, If you don't want them to be in danger, fine. But at least tell them about the person, because what if they're for instance, what if they randomly, were out there just minding their own business in civilian form, and they end up getting attacked by Prometheus? Of course, they had no idea about this. At least tell them, so if they're out there in their normal civilian lives, they could be prepared to protect themselves or protect others who are around them, you know what I mean? But anyway, they needed to examine at least one of the throwing stars, but of course it's in police custody, so Felicity manages to steal from her boyfriend Billy. Remember Billy, that guy Billy, that she's dating? Yeah, she went to visit him, and when he had his back turned, she basically stole from the police department, which is amazing. Go Felicity, right? Right? At one point, they get another call that apparently Prometheus was spotted, and a bunch of civilians are going in panic and all that stuff. And, since Oliver's like, you know what, the team's pissed, I will bring in the others in this. So you got Oliver, Diggle, Renee, you just got everyone, right? You got Green Arrow, Spartan, Wild Dog, Mr. Terrific, we've got Artemis and Ragman all there, and Felicity being Overwatch back at the base, and it's it's pretty cool seeing all of them in costume. I wish they were all there in costume. Wouldn't it be cool to see Thea there also? That'd be freaking awesome. Or if Roy came back, that'd be pretty cool. But seeing the whole team there so far was pretty dang cool to see. Granted, I also want to see Thea there, so it could be like kind of complete, you know what I mean? But hey, the majority of them, right? But anyway, the team pretty much stops the entire street panic because apparently they think that they saw Prometheus and a bunch of civilians had guns, right? And they're all shooting in the air, like, where is he? And all that stuff. And I thought that was pretty funny. It's like, you guys are blind shooting. For all you know, you could be like shooting actual innocent civilians, because for all we know, there could be like apartment buildings or something around them. And they could be shooting at those people's windows, for all we know, right? And it's like, oh, you bad, horrible shots. But anyway, they stopped the street panic, which was caused by a rumor that Prometheus was spotted. And, apparently, during all that, after the whole stopping the street panic, Felicity asked the help of, God, I forgot his real name already, Curtis, to help her track down any, anything in common with these victims, right? And they found a pattern between the victims, and apparently, like, an anagram with their names spells out names on Oliver's old hit list that he had from the very beginning in season 1. Remember that little book of hit list names he had all the way in season 1 that were names from his dad? Good nod to the beginning of Arrow, guys. Good job. That was pretty cool that they related all the way back to that hit list book, which I thought was pretty interesting. And, unfortunately, Wild Dog, Ragman, Mr. Terrific, and especially Artemis, Evelyn, they are angry. Especially Evelyn, because obviously they had no idea how the beginning of Oliver's quest was him killing these people, right? And they're like, we don't want to... Of course, they're angry because they didn't know this, but at the same time, they're angry because they didn't know they were following a serial killer, you know what I mean? In his beginnings, yes, he was practically a serial killer because most of the people on that hit list were like lawyers and banks people and all that stuff. They weren't like killers like Damien Dark, you know? They weren't people that actually deserved it, you know what I mean? And Evelyn's more upset about it because, she joined the crusade. Basically, in a way, I wouldn't say hero worship, but she looked up to Oliver, right? She looked up to the Green Arrow, and especially after his speech about Black Canary and all that stuff, about not tarnishing her name, and this whole time, he started off as a serial killer himself. That's why she was really pissed off at that fact. And, they all took off, they all started talking about it. Evelyn storms off away from the newbies, and, Felicity, she uses this pattern they found with the victims to predict future victims, right? And, despite, them being angry at Oliver, for not telling them about Prometheus, and then not telling him about the fact that the hit list, they all come, including Evelyn. Of course, you could tell she's kind of still pissy about Oliver, right? That's why he's kind of hesitant to let her back on the field. But, they have to protect these future victims, and they found 6 potential future victims, so they have no choice but to split up and each take those individual potential victims, right? Unfortunately, Evelyn's victim is like a train conductor dude. Not really a train. It's kind of like Bart. He's like a Bart dude, right? The train thing is empty. It's just him driving and her, stowed away, keeping an eye on him, and all of a sudden Prometheus does show up. And, she sees him, and, unfortunately, instead of calling for backup because she turned off her comm, she engages on him. She does manage to cut his arm. Unfortunately, that wasn't enough because she still gets knocked out, like, really bad. She gets overpowered. And Oliver, hearing from Felicity that Evelyn turned off her comms, worries him a lot because no one else on the team is spotting Prometheus, and Evelyn's the only one that, her comm is off. Prometheus is most likely there. So he ends up showing up, arriving, saving the potential victim, and checking on Evelyn. Unfortunately, Prometheus escapes. And, meanwhile, of course, I forgot. I'm still kind of pissed off that I deleted my Flash episode. I really am. I'm jumbling everything right now. Also, during this episode, Thea actually discovers that Quentin never quit drinking. He never quit drinking. He was never, like, sober. He was alcoholic the whole time. Because she found a bottle of liquor in his desk. And even tries to convince him to, like, rejoin the Alcoholics Anonymous group to help him, you know what I mean? And I forgot to mention that. I'm sorry about that. I was really saddened to hear that Quentin... I thought maybe, he was sober. Like, he was sobering up and he accidentally, like, hit the bottle again. But unfortunately, it was even worse off. Quentin never quit the bottle the whole time. It's really heartbreaking to hear. Because I really thought he was, like, recovering. I really did. Because he seemed okay, just a little, And I figured, that's because he just quit the bottle. He's still trying to recover from it. But it's just upsetting to see, But anyway, during this whole thing, Evelyn does manage to reconcile with Oliver. And, Felicity does tell the guy she's dating, Billy, yeah, I did steal one of the stars from the police department, only because she admitted to Billy that she's actually working with the Green Arrow, which is why she stole the star. And amazingly, surprisingly enough, Billy was surprisingly happy about it. It's like, you work for Green Arrow? How cool! Does he have scars? Is that why he's wearing a mask and a hood? And he's all like geeking out like a fanboy, which I was like, he's surprisingly happy about this. I'd be kind of questioning why if I was Billy, I'd be like, what? Why is my girlfriend working for the Green Arrow? How long has she been doing this? Is it, what? I wouldn't be that surprisingly happy, that surprisingly fast. I'm just saying. But anyway, Felicity finds out that all the throwing stars were actually made from material from Oliver's old arrows that he used a long time ago, which was when he first started out as the vigilante. And all the throwing stars are pretty much made from the old arrowheads that were pretty much confiscated by the police department. Because remember when the vigilante case, when Roy took, Roy pretended he was Arrow, and he faked his death and all that, and they took all the evidence, including all of Oliver's old stuff. Apparently, someone broke into someone from the police department, stole all the arrowheads, melted it down, and made throwing stars out of it. So that means that Prometheus could possibly be an SCPD officer. And that shocked me, especially straight after that realization. They show Quentin waking up from an alcohol-induced sleep. And you see his arm is cut, is slashed. And there's a throwing star on his table. Remember, when Evelyn spotted Prometheus, she fought him and managed to cut his arm. The same spot where Quentin has a huge gash on his arm, and there's a throwing star on his table. It's like, please tell me Prometheus is not Quentin, guys. But it does make sense because Quentin used to be part of the police department. He has access to all that stuff, right? But you would think, since he quit the police force and, he's an alcoholic, he didn't have access to that stuff anymore. But the fact that he was a former officer of the police department, and the fact that he has a cut in the same area as Prometheus had when Evelyn cut Prometheus, and he has a throwing star, either he's Prometheus or Prometheus is freaking screwing with everyone and framing Quentin Lance, because I'm in shock. If Quentin is in fact Prometheus, I'm going to be the most shocked person ever. I'll be like, dang, right? But anyway, there was a flashback. I'm not going to get too much into it because, I don't know, it just seemed kind of random to me. I'm not going to get too much into it. But I'm happy that, Evelyn at least reconciled with Oliver. Hopefully, the same way with everyone else. They seem to be okay with him. The only one that didn't seem okay was Evelyn. And now that Evelyn reconciled with Oliver, that's a good thing. I find it weird that Felicity, the guy that she's dating, Billy, is abnormally, freakishly, surprisingly happy, and how quick he was happy about finding out Felicity was working with Green Arrow. I'm just saying. And I'm hoping and praying that maybe Prometheus is just framing Quentin, and then that Quentin's not really Prometheus. It just wouldn't seem right. But anyway, that is my reaction rant for Arrow Season 5, Episode 6, titled So It Begins. See you soon. Bye.